Hello and welcome to Rising Stars. I'm Vikram Oza. Now, as the number of entrepreneurs is growing, the infrastructure to facilitate their business, that needs to grow alongside. And there are enough and more startups helping other startups. Well, they are helping them to start up, indeed. Kraftly is one such e-commerce platform that is aiming to put small sellers, your artisans and the like, and their wares in an easy-selling environment. Saahil Goel and his team have launched it in August 2015. And here he is, joining us from Delhi to tell us how far they've come and where they're headed right now. Welcome to Rising Stars, Saahil. Great to have you with us. Tell us the idea in developing this e-commerce platform where a space where so many others exist.
So basically, back in 14-15, we realized that there was a dearth of a platform or a channel for very small sellers to be able to come online and participate in e-commerce successfully. And we realized that the market was far deeper in going after the small seller market and creating a seller-centric platform, and that is kind of how we started out. And then we basically today allow the seller to be able to do everything end-to-end and be at par with any other big marketplace in order to find the right customer, get their products out there, ship them using our products, and also be able to accept payments.
Right. So, Saahil, it's all about buying and selling through your app and your web platform. So, whether it's fashion, it's accessories, jewelry, it's all out there. Tell us about your strongest verticals so far in doing the kind of business that you have. What has really worked out?
So I think the way we've designed the business model to begin with, it is only in unbranded and private label categories. So that automatically cuts out a lot of the hard goods categories. Now within the lifestyle soft goods verticals, I think what works very well for us is accessories and apparel. Also what's interesting is the home interior category. So within these, jewelry, footwear, bags, women western wear, men's western wear, sunglasses, watches, these are categories that are working really well. Very similar to what you would expect from an impulse buying experience that one may experience in a flea market kind of a setting.
Right. So, but, the margins over there would be pretty small. You're talking about accessories and such. So I just want to understand your revenue model over here, because from what I am led to understand so far, there is the commission side of your revenues, but there's also the ad generated revenues and also what you make on shipping. So how does it all add up?
Yeah, so contrary to popular belief, the margins actually are great in the unbranded private label categories. And I think like in branded products, especially in hard goods, there aren't any margins at all, right? But what we are talking about have almost a 300% markup between the seller and the buyer. So there's definitely a much healthier kind of margin to operate from there. So for us, having access to that margin in terms of commissions is a great way for us to strengthen our unit economics. Other than that, the way we've architected the model is to also be able to generate additional revenue that is not directly linked to the sales. For example, offering things like shipping to the seller as a standalone as well as a bundled service through the platform, no matter where they generate their order. The seller could be generating their order on an Instagram or a WhatsApp or a Facebook group and still be shipping through us, and that is where we monetize. The seller can also be paying us for buying media on platforms like Facebook, Google, even on Kraftly itself, to be able to run their ads through us as well. So we've created the model in a very, very differentiated way, keeping in mind the needs of the seller as well as the buyer for this differentiated catalog.
So in terms of quantities, in terms of the breakup of your revenues right now, how much comes through commissions? I believe you work in the range of 20 to 25% blended. That's the kind of commission that you make on every sale. And what about the ad part and the shipping part? Tell us in quantity terms how much it really works out in a month's time.
Sure. So basically, our commissions go from anywhere from being 0% all the way to 35%. And as you rightly pointed out, it does blend at about 20-25% from a commission perspective. 50% or so of our revenue is generated via the commission model, and the other 50% comes from our tools, as we like to call it. Tools can be shipping or ads or our website platform as well. In terms of numbers, this is anywhere from 250 to 300,000 aggregated in a month. And that is how we look today as a business.
Right, so this is the buy and sell mobile app and web platform. It's targeting small and medium sellers who are looking to connect with buyers and create that online presence for themselves. But do tell us, as far as funding goes, to be able to craft this business, as it were, you've had 3 rounds of funding and you've raised about $9 million already, but I imagine the tech piece, the product piece, would be a significant burn, considering you're creating all these verticals, all the possibilities for sellers to sell through. So do tell us, how much have you burnt and how much of that has gone into product and tech?
So I think we are breaking new ground when it comes to product and tech, because no one has really thought about allowing sellers to sell from mobile. No one has thought about enabling an ad in a matter of under a minute by letting a seller take a picture and have it show up on Google. So I think there's a lot of groundbreaking stuff happening on product, and that obviously requires investment in the early years. I would say in excess of 50% of our investment from our investors have gone into pretty much developing the data science piece, developing the product piece, developing the technology. And that has been a significant part and will continue to be a very significant part of how we drive this. Because rather than investing behind Salesforce and fleets of people, we actually want to make a real change by building a innovative product that can be here forever. Right? That's sort of the philosophy of how we operate. And the other areas obviously are in customer and seller acquisition. Right? Those have been 2 large areas of the of investment in terms of growing the business as well. In fact, we've grown from being almost 10,000 sellers last year to about 100,000 sellers that we work with. So that is the traction at which we are operating.
But in terms of seller acquisition, now again, that can be a big cost. But I know that you're driving a lot of this acquisition digitally, and also a lot of your marketing is digital. So there must be a thought around keeping those costs low and trusting much more of the tech piece to be able to drive both of these.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think it all ties in, right? I mean, if you, it's all about conversion funnels at the end of the day, where if you have a product that's sticky enough and pull based enough to be able for you to be able to pull sellers and users from let's say even a channel like Facebook, which is not traditionally considered as the right channel for seller marketing, it does work out, right? So we've put in our guardrails in terms of how we want to run the business, right? What we will and won't do. And I think that has worked very well in terms of scaling it up in a very, very efficient manner.
But at the end of the day, it's an e-commerce platform. There are several others out there as well who are vying for the same kind of audience. The sellers that you're targeting, these are your small and medium businesses. At this point in time, they're looking for a market. You are facilitating it in all kinds of aspects, whether it's about the buying and selling, the ease of it, and obviously in being able to putting it out there, the marketing of it as well. But to stay ahead of the game, you'll need to have stronger USPs. What's the road ahead looking like, and the competitive landscape as well?
So I think interesting question, and I have an offline example, right? So as a buyer, you walk into a large department store where you know which commodity you want to buy, you know which brand you want to buy, and then the same buyer on the way out also takes a little trip to the flea market where you don't know what you want to buy, but you still go there. It's all impulse oriented. You pick up low rupee value items that you may not need, but you still buy them, right? So I think the experience of buying from a large department store is relatively faceless. You don't know who the seller is. You only go by the brand, by the quality, etc. Whereas in the buying on the flea market side, the experience is very much personal, right? So I think we have tried to replicate a very similar experience onto our website. We are offering buyers a unique inventory, a personalized buying experience, a set of products that they may not otherwise find anywhere else on our platform, and doing it in a way which is very, very different from how it happens on the other marketplaces. Buyers are free to kind of chat with the seller. They're free to understand what the seller's story is. They are free to browse by seller or by other signals that are available on the platform to be able to discover better. So I think it is created in a very different way where one can't exist without the other. So unless one invests behind the seller piece, keeping our sellers activated enough to put in effort onto the platform, you can't do that without getting the buyer. So I think it's it's crafted in a way which is very different from what a lot of the other marketplaces are doing. And I think that is what is keeping us ahead in the game. Other than that, the business model also is very, very robust because it allows sellers to be able to pay for a lot of what they do on the platform, which is not the case with a lot of the other models out there.
You're making about 250,000 rupees per month, and half of this is coming through commissions and the other half through ads and the shipping. At this kind of clip and the kind of burn that you've already had for the $9 million that you've raised, 30% of that, I understand, has already been burned. So you are going to need more funding going ahead. What's the requirement right now?
So our revenue is around $250,000 a month.
Right.
And,
yes.
Our funding requirements are, so I think we are, I mean, it depends, right? Depending on the right partner coming along. There's all this concept of dumb money and smart money, right, in venture capital. And for us, we've really chosen the kind of investors we want to work with, because eventually it's got to be people who understand what we're trying to do, who understand how these models have succeeded in the West or in Southeast Asia. And I mean, yeah, while we may not need the funding immediately, I think it all depends on if it allows us to accelerate at a much faster pace, allows us to get access to more avenues, allows us to open doors. I think that is really the important part of being able to raise venture capital.
Yes.
So we're always on the lookout. I think everyone is.
Yes, of course, indeed. And you're keeping your cards very close to your chest. I can see the importance of doing that as well, considering it's a highly competitive space, and obviously you're that much away from profitability, so you need to kind of make sure that the engine keeps chugging along, as it were. We wish you great luck on this entire process. Kraftly is our rising star today. Thanks very much, Saahil Goel, for joining us on the show.